Hi guys. Well, it looks like we have one person here. Um, a few more people coming in, so we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll kick it off with a little bit of introduction. So I'm Logan. I'm a senior exercise science major here at Taylor. And my plan after when I graduate is to go to physical therapy school at Trine University in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we have a couple other students that are joining me today, so we'll go ahead and kick it off with some intros, and then we'll get into our questions. So, awesome. Morgan, you want to start us off?
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm gonna be a senior, graduating this year. I majored in biology, pre med, and I also played on the women's soccer team here for 4 years. And I'm gonna be going to medical school at University of Colorado starting in July.
Yeah, I can go. I'm Ethan. I did my undergrad at Taylor. I graduated in 2024. And then I'm in the graduate physician assistant program right now. So we just started our first year. So I'll graduate from there in 2027.
Yeah, and I'm Audrey. I am a junior here at Taylor. I'm a biology health science major, and then I have a concentration in pre PA. And Lord willing, I'll go to PA school next year.
I'm Ricardo. I'm from Havelock, North Carolina. I am a first year student at the Taylor University Physician Assistant Program. And when I'm done, I plan to work in emergency medicine or in critical care.
And I'm Caden. I'm a pre-medicine student here at Taylor. I also have a minor in philosophy. And something unique about my experience is I went to Ecuador for the health sciences. Also, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And after school, I plan to go to medical school, obviously.
Fantastic. So the questions are coming in, which is awesome. Keep them coming, please. So the first one, this may be directed more towards Morgan, which is how do you feel like Taylor prepared you for the MCAT/med school? And Caden, if you want to pop in on this as well.
Yeah, so I took the MCAT this past summer in June when I did the whole medical school application thing this last year. I think that all of my classes at Taylor really helped me to get a good foundation to start studying for the MCAT. The teachers are really good at helping you one-on-one and explaining things like in smaller class sizes. That's something I really liked about Taylor. And obviously the MCAT's like its own thing. Like you kind of have to study a specific way for it. But they do provide a lot of resources at Taylor. Like they have a special class for the MCAT. I personally didn't take it, but I had some classmates who took that. And I think they liked it. I think that the classes prepared me really well. The science classes cover like a lot, like a wide range of everything you need to know for the MCAT. So, I don't know, Caden, when are you taking the MCAT?
I'm taking it. I actually just registered today. I'm going to take it at the end of May. So yeah, I've been preparing a lot for that. I will say the health advisor that we have here at Taylor, Dr. Stuart Walker, he worked on the advisory board for IU for a long time. And I remember when I was a freshman, I'd met with him, or maybe even as a prospective student, and it was super helpful. He's like, "This is like," he just like threw it out on the table, like, "These are the classes you're gonna have to take. This is what you have to do," and it's super helpful to just have a clear image of what I need to do before I get into it, rather than like, "Oh wait, I was supposed to take that class." Like I never had that.
Yeah. Also, I'll say like a lot of older pre-med students I remember were super helpful. The biology and like health sciences area at Taylor is like a really good community where everyone's like really helpful. It's like a very healthy, encouraging environment. So
Yeah, I think that's something that's also missed too in the Taylor community part is how helpful it is to have just people like that a year above you or 2 years above you to just tell you what to do because nobody
yeah.
knows better than the ones that are doing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you'll have faculty advisors that will be able to help you and guide you, obviously. But yeah, again, there's a perspective from having students who have gone ahead of you that is invaluable for sure. Next question. Let's open this up to let's go Ethan and Audrey, which is how did you decide on your graduate school pathway, or did you ever change your mind throughout college? But Ricardo as well. Feel free to pop in.
I changed my mind a lot throughout college. I was kind of all over the place. I always was kind of on a grad school route, but as far as what specifically that was, I had no idea. And I actually kind of found that through conversations with my faculty advisors at Taylor when I was in undergrad, just because I felt like Taylor's a place where like your faculty cares about you as more than just a student, but like as a person too. And so people could speak things into my life that they like saw specific things for me as far as a career path, like seeing things from me in the classroom that says like, oh, this is the type of person you are. This is maybe a field that you would be good in. Whereas I just don't think I would have gotten that at most other schools. The department that I was in undergrad, I wasn't on the biology side like Audrey and Morgan were, but I, like Logan, was an exercise science major. And that department is just like absolutely fantastic. Like you can't really go wrong as far as faculty goes over there.
Yeah, I've kind of had the opposite experience. I think I knew what I wanted to do going into it. And I think through my time at Taylor, like the Lord has just kept affirming that calling. But what really kind of set me on this path, in short, is like talking to a biology professor before I came to Taylor. I let her know what my interests were, what my long-term goals were, and my passions. And so she recommended that I would major in biology and have a concentration in pre-PA. And I'm so grateful that the Lord used her to guide me to this path. And I think just through the different clinical experiences I've had at Taylor, and then the encouragement and knowledge of my professors, just, I don't know, continued to confirm this calling that the Lord has set before me.
When I went to school, I thought I was going to be a coach, but after I graduated from East Carolina University, I ran professionally for a while. After I retired, I decided to go back and try to figure out where my passions would be. So I work at an outpatient respiratory clinic. Some of the doctors I worked with said that I should consider trying respiratory therapy. And then once I got into respiratory therapy, it was one of those things like I felt like I can do more. And so I decided to make that career choice of going back to PA school right when COVID was happening. So I got experience in the hospital. I have like 10 years of experience in respiratory therapy. So when I wanted to go back to PA school, I found out that Taylor was going to have a PA program. And I figured that this would be like the best opportunity for me to take advantage of. So that's what got me into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for our next question, so it says for physical therapy, are the classes hard or have lots of homework? And can you have a social life with this major? And so this could be something that all of us could kind of talk about. As all pre-health majors, like there's a lot of overlap in the classes that we take. So I would say that they're like the normal level of content that you would get at any other school. In comparison, so the content's the same, but I think that the profs are really great in like the way that they're able to communicate and educate. And I feel like I've been able to have a social life with this major, whether that's doing things with the girls that I live with, and yeah, just being able to make connections with friends inside the major, friends outside the major, different things like that. So that's been my personal experience. I feel like I've been able to balance it. If anyone else wants to kind of chime in.
I would
Well, I
agree.
know for like PA school, it seems to be kind of challenging, but some of the stuff that we focus on as far as like trying to stay healthy is trying to have like a social life, something that we can do to help reduce stress. We have a pretty tight knit family with our program. We have 38 students. So we study a lot together. After class, we either go on walks or we join in intramural sports. So we end up pretty much being around each other the majority of the time. And we pretty much have a lot of free time at times, it seems like. But as far as stress, it's challenging, but once you're at home, it's your time to relax and then just recharge for tomorrow.
Anyone else want to kind of chime in more on what the different social aspects of Taylor are, or what you guys have experienced? I know Ricardo mentioned
Sure.
intramurals.
Yeah, I got it, Logan. I have a couple. Two of my best friends are exercise science, just like yourself, Logan, and they're very social. I mean, it's not, especially if you consider yourself a strong enough student to pursue any kind of STEM major. It's super doable. It only really gets maybe tough when it comes to extra things like you're applying to other schools, and that doesn't come until down the line. Like a senior in high school isn't expected to fully know how to handle all those different things, but when the time comes, you'd be like, oh, this is doable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was coming in, I was like scared if I would be able to balance it too. And I also was like an athlete, so I had that added like time constraint on me too. And honestly, I look back on my 4 years and I have thought that I've had like the greatest balance. Taylor's like a super conducive environment to having a lot of really good relationships and like people supporting you all the time. And like it is a challenge, the major, but it's not like, there's so many people that do it and do it well here. So like I don't think anyone should be intimidated by it. Like I think we've all had like really great experiences and like doing different things. Like you can do a lot of you can do everything you want to do and like not have your school or your social life suffer because of the other. I think it's easier to do at Taylor than like other places. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just Taylor's, so like foundationally built on community, so that like the structure of everything in the classroom and outside the classroom is built around like you having these relationships that are going to last your whole life. When you have that, like you live with all these people, especially, I think Caden, you live in Wengus, don't you? Yeah, I think you and I can both attest to like life in the dorms, particularly Wengus for us was like, it's just like living with your 35 closest friends. So it's like, yeah, you're going to class and stuff like that, and like you're getting this degree, but the community part just kind of comes with it and is so like built in and incorporated into everything that I never felt like I had to like. I mean, I guess there were cases where I would have to like find the right balance between social and school, but it was never like, I guess, a struggle to like, I don't know where to go in terms of my social life. It was always kind of like there was always something for that.
Just to echo Ethan, like you'd have to try to not make a good friend, at least one at Taylor. That's impressive, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next question is, how do you start shadowing or clinics as a high school student with no connections? So does anyone have kind of any experience of trying to test things out in high school and kind of what that was like? Audrey, it looks like maybe you did.
Yeah. I think I kind of come from a unique situation. I have like absolutely no family or family friends in healthcare at all. So I have like no connections. I literally went to HR at my local at the hospital close by to my house. And I was like, hey, like I'm a student and I'm like wanting to shadow some doctors. Is that a possibility? Is there any doctors that would be willing? And the HR people at the hospital are like, oh yeah, of course, we'll get you set up. So literally just going in cold turkey, like, hey, like, are there any people willing for me to shadow them is kind of what I did.
Awesome. Next question is, do you feel like the cost of tuition at Taylor was worth the education you received? And maybe give one reason as to why.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, it's definitely a lot. I'm definitely still hurting from it financially, but I think if it wasn't worth it, if it wasn't worth it, I probably wouldn't have gone into the PA program, which is also still expensive. But I think just the fact that it's like every single classroom that you're in is built on the fact that like the students in the class and the professor who's teaching the class like love Jesus so much, and like that's the foundation of every lesson, every single exam, every homework assignment is like built on this foundation of Christ, which you just like, I don't know, I feel like I keep saying, but like at Taylor there's just stuff that you just don't get anywhere else. And so like I would say that that is like worth whatever tuition may be. But
Yeah, I would echo that. I feel like something that I've thought about a lot is like not only are we learning from like experts in the field, but we're learning from like dedicated followers of the Lord, dedicated husbands, dedicated wives, dedicated like church attendees. Like I go to church with multiple of the profs at Taylor. So yeah, I'd echo what Ethan said. So anyone else have any other thoughts? Awesome. So next one is I'm interested in pre-dentistry. Is that a declared major at Taylor?
It is, I think. I have sorry, go ahead.
No,
I'll
you
go
go
after
for it,
you.
Morgan. Go
Sure.
ahead.
I
Yeah.
have a couple people in my biology class that will be graduating this May that are pre-dental, and I know several that are 1 or 2 years older than me that are in like IU dentist school and like stuff lately. So like I think you can honestly, you can major in pretty much whatever you want. And I think like anything like pre-PA, pre-med, pre-dental, you just have to take the classes that like that grad school requires. But yeah, we do have a pre-dental. There's a bunch of us. I mean, I'm not one of them, but my class. Yeah.
Nice.
I was just going to say the same thing. So,
Sorry, girl.
no, you're good. You articulated it way better than I did. So,
No.
I love it. So it says we've kind of gotten a similar question like this, but I'm nervous about managing demanding classes and preparing for graduate school while still enjoying my college years. So have you balanced that, or maybe let's take it the angle of like what has been a way that you've found best to study and kind of balance that, because that can be different for different people, what works and what's beneficial. So let's kind of go that route. That's like how to be efficient with our studies and time management.
I got it. I think there's definitely this fear. Like I remember coming in, especially I'm like younger for my grade, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to college. I'm just supposed to have it all. My freshman fall semester, I was not a great student, honestly. Like I got classes that anybody should have gotten an A, and then I didn't get an A. And I was like, it was a silly mistake. But like the learning, it's a new environment, and a lot like kind of alluding to the money question, almost like you're putting this money in, it really just amounts to how much work are you putting with it, because it is worth it if you put in the work. And it's the same thing with Taylor. Like the community's there, the school's there. If you want it, it's super doable. If you don't want it, maybe it is a waste of money. Maybe you won't be able to make friends. But like, if it's something that you desire, I have yet to see somebody that's like, oh, I want to make friends, or oh, I want to be a successful student and can't.
yeah, I would say I guess like a practical thing that I remember doing that was super helpful in my undergrad was like almost like separating the locations where I had my school life and then where I had my social life. And so there was a period of time where like I wouldn't do any homework in the dorms because like that was, like I said, like where so much community was found. But I knew if I was there, like my friends were right down the hall, like I was gonna go and like hang out with them or like watch a movie or something. So I would leave the dorm to go do my homework. I would go to the library or to the student center or something and just like find a different place to do that. So that was helpful for me as far as like a practical thing.
yeah, and I think for me, I didn't do a good job of balancing everything like kid in freshman year. But then I started taking the Sabbath day seriously and really honoring that. And so like having a day full of rest and full of, I don't know, spending time in God's word and in his presence really helped me not get burnt out and willing and able to keep studying and keep pushing during the weeks, because I knew like, okay, if I can just make it to Sunday, I can rest.
That's awesome. So next question is, any softball players in here to answer questions about how nursing and softball go together at Taylor, if it's hard to manage or no. So maybe Morgan, if you want to kind of attest to that as a athlete. I know you're soccer, and then you have a friend in your house who's also softball. So if you can kind of fall on that.
One of my best friends, I lived with her in Berg when we were in the dorm, and then she lives in my townhouse with me now. She's on the softball team. And I was on the soccer team. I honestly, I get where like the intimidation. I was intimidated too coming in. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle like pre-med and soccer and all the things. But like genuinely, the school part at Taylor I've enjoyed so much that it doesn't even really feel like I was sacrificing anything because I did enjoy what I was learning. And Katie, the girl on the softball team that is my friend, she was a biology pre-health sciences too. She's going to optometry school, and her and I would study together. Like you kind of find your people. I really just looking back, I don't think there was ever like I didn't ever feel like I was having a like obviously there are some times where you're more social or sometimes where you have to study more, but honestly, and the teachers at Taylor work really well with athlete schedules. Like they're super if you have to make up an exam or like make up a lab. I didn't miss like a ton of school because I was on the soccer team and like it just kind of like the way our games were different than softball, but like when I did miss school, it was like very easy to make up. And the coaches are really flexible too. Different teams have different things that they do. Like some teams have like study halls and stuff. All of our teams have super high GPAs, like collectively. Um, but yeah, I mean, Katie, if I could speak for her, she would probably say like there's a lot of pre-health, nursing, exercise science girls that I've gone through the 4 years with that are on the softball team, and they have done a great job. And they're a super sweet team too. They're a great group. Like so. I wouldn't be intimidated. I really like if you love it, like do it. Like at least try. Like don't doubt yourself. Just you can do both for sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So my dad used to coach men's soccer here at Taylor, and it was interesting. He always would say that his guys would do better academically during their season. It's because maybe you can attest to that too, Morgan. But it's like you kind of have to because you have to use your time and manage so well because you got practice, you got games, you're kind of on that grind, and so you're kind
I
of
always
forced.
tell the girls like coming in, I'm like, you guys have done it your whole life. Like you've been on a like if you're playing in college, you've probably played your whole life and done
Right.
school at the same time. So it's like it's no different. You just keep doing what you're doing. Like you already know how to do it. So just
Yeah.
go for it.
And plus for high school students, like you're used to having school from 7 to 3, but like I have class for 3 hours on any given day, which makes a massive difference for studying.
Yes.
Totally. Perfect. Like this. Okay, so next question is directed at Caden. So Caden, can you speak more about the Ecuador trip? What did you do there?
course.
Did it count towards your degree?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So the biggest like pre-health thing was going like what's the word? Getting hours at the clinic there, like interning. So I got to see surgeries. I saw eye surgery, plastic surgeries. It's all funded by the church that Taylor works with. Taylor has really great relations there, and so it's a very full functioning program. I got to take anatomy too, which was like right on track with all my peers. Taking the same class with our professor here in the States. But I had it with Dr. Pedro, bless his heart. He's a great professor. And then the health. And then the other thing, and then something that was important to me was I got to learn Spanish. And there was actually a lot of us that went on the trip that had minimal Spanish, even worse than me. And I got to take classes and speak it all the time. And now I feel like if I'm in a clinical setting, I can speak the second most spoken language in the US, which is super enticing for any program looking to hire, because, if they don't need to hire you and a translator, that's a really big difference, and it's good for the patient. So all around, I would say the biggest takeaways were just like getting the hands-on experience, because like being able to watch surgery, and there's not as many regulations there, so it's not as big of a deal for an undergrad student like me to scrub in. And then learning Spanish too. They were both great.
That's awesome. And would you say cost-wise, it's like about the same as a?
Oh yeah. So Taylor has J-term trips, which are like just the month of January, and I don't know like why I wouldn't be able to say numbers, but I'll just say this: that it actually costs less for me to go to Ecuador for the entire semester than it costs some people to go on a trip over J-term.
Cool. Yeah, another thing I've heard from, I've had other friends that have done that program too, is like the idea of getting to live with a host family, and it's that idea of immersion and things like that. Next question. So, how do professors handle weed out classes here at Taylor? Maybe what are the weed out classes? Things like that. Ethan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I feel like the big weed out class that everybody talks about is A and P, which for my major we took as a sophomore. So I know that sometimes biology or other majors, like people take it a little bit later. For us, that was the big weed out class. As far as how professors handle it, I mean, they're aware for sure, but I also think that professors here are really willing to help students out. If the student that is struggling is willing to like take that step and say, hey, like I'm struggling, what else can I do? But I feel like when they're approached that way, like all these professors are super approachable. It's like just because they're aware that it's a weed out class doesn't mean that they actually want it to weed students out, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
They still like obviously want everybody to do well, things like that. So they're very approachable, very willing to help out.
So, anyone from the pre-med?
I think some of the weed out classes that you would count as weed out would be like OChem or biochem. And I found that like if you just kind of went in and like just like tried hard, like they're usually like not as bad as people say. Like they kind of people make it sound like a huge deal. But I feel like if you just go into it and like I mean, it's like just content. Like you just kind of learn it, and it's not like the biggest deal in the world if you like do bad in a class. Like I got accepted into grad school, and I feel like it's not like you can take some pressure off your shoulders. Like you don't have to get an A in every single weed out class there is. You just have to show that you're like working hard and like can learn things. But I can also agree with what Ethan said. All the professors when I was struggling were super helpful with like office hours and they'll curve exams, they'll give you opportunities to make up points. Like they do want you to do well. Like they want to help you achieve your goals and they know you personally so that like the weed out classes shouldn't like they're hard, but they shouldn't like be scary.
And I think for me, the hardest class I've ever taken, harder than like OChem 2 and Biochem, was College Chem 2. And in
Yeah, that
fact,
was awful.
yeah, that was, ugh. Thermodynamics are not it. But like even like Morgan was my tutor for that. So even like older students are so willing to come alongside you. So I'm so thankful for you, Morgan. For how much you helped me with that.
Shout out Morgan. Yay.
But even like the teachers or profs, I should say, like encourage you to go to their office hours. So I remember for organic chemistry, like he wanted us to go in there every chapter with questions, and we would get like extra credit points for seeking to understand some of the content better. So the professors want you to go to their office hours, and their office hours are so helpful. So
I'd second that. Okay, next question. Let's go Ricardo and Morgan. So why did you choose to pursue MD versus PA, and what helped you decide?
I decided to choose PA for a couple of reasons. I'm a older non-traditional student, so me going into the MD route just wasn't going to be a financially sound adjustment or plan. If once I graduate as PA, it's a 2-year program for most cases. I'm not going to graduate with a bunch of debt, and I'm able to work in any specialty I want after college. Also, my wife's a physician assistant, so it was one of those things that I had in communication with her, like what is the best route for us and the family. So it was kind of easy for me just to pick the PA route.
Yeah. There's so many different like careers you can pick that are like amazing in healthcare, like nursing, PA, MD, physical, like all the things. Like I think what drew me, especially like choosing between PA and MD, school was I really want to specialize and I want to have the opportunity to do research. And I mean, PAs and doctors both have a lot of like autonomy and like the decision making part of like diagnosing a patient and then making the decisions and like kind of being like a leading voice on like the healthcare team. That's what kind of drew me in. Just that like the leadership role and the ability to like I love the idea of like spending a long time like learning how to just get really 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 good at like one area of healthcare that like really helps a certain patient population. So that's why I chose med school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this can kind of go to anyone. What advice do you have for a high school senior, and would you choose Taylor again?
Yeah, I'll go. Number one, I would say like find any way you can to shadow. I kind of relate to Audrey in that I didn't, I don't have anybody in the medical background in my family. It was kind of like, it was kind of a slow start for me, but like anything, like if you know somebody whose friend's friend is dad's cousin is a doctor, like go to that guy, like just go spend time in the clinical setting. And if you can find out that you don't like it, you can save a lot of hurt on the front end. So like get in a hospital or a clinic any way you can, especially you're a high school student. They know you don't have your act together. So there's no harm in just asking. Like they don't expect you to be a fully formed person yet. Yeah, that's probably the biggest piece of advice that I have.
Yeah, and to build off, Caden, like once you do shadow and you do recognize like, oh yeah, I do want to pursue a career in medicine, like start on clinical hours right away, especially if you're thinking about being a PA, because a lot of PA schools require quite a bit of hours. And then also it'll kind of help you narrow down like the where you kind of want to take medicine. So like for me, getting clinical experience solidified, yes, I want to diagnose, I want to prescribe medicine and stuff like that, and not necessarily be a nurse. So yes, shadow, and once you shadow, start working in healthcare if you can.
Something else I would add on as well is don't forget what you've learned, like especially for any high school students who are watching. Like if you're taking AP biology or chemistry, like you don't have to like remember all of it, maybe not even most of it, but hold on to any information that can stick, because like Ethan was talking about anatomy and physiology being a weed out class. I think part of the reason that that's a weed out class is it's the first kind of upper level class, and that it's not just content. You have to relate stuff. Like you're pulling information from common sense and biology and any other math you may have used, and you're kind of drawing it all together. So if you already have that pool of information to pull from, it's going to be a lot easier to start connecting ideas. So that helps a ton too. Just like figure out how to commit stuff to long-term memory, not just for whatever test you have the next day.
It's valid. Okay, so next question. What are relationships like between pre-med students? Are people supportive or very competitive?
I found it to be very supportive. It's not competitive. We all love to study with each other and get lunch together, and no one like gatekeeps their not anything. So I found it. I have very close friends who are pre-meds, and they want to hear about how you're doing and how you're doing in school and how if you've got accepted anywhere. Like, and it's all just from a good, genuine place of actually wanting you to succeed. There's not really like a competitive like. I know that was the thing at other schools when I was looking. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would second that. I think I'm not pre-med, but just healthcare in general, like when I was looking at grad schools, like the idea of a smaller cohort or a supportive cohort is definitely something that was like after having that experience at Taylor, and that being a place where I found that I've thrived, like something I wanted to carry on in my grad school experience. So I don't know if any of you can second that, but awesome. Does Taylor have a pre-physician assistant program, or would you major in biology or another science, or?
I mean,
Okay, go ahead,
go
Audrey.
for it, Caitlin. Go for it.
Okay. The thing about pre-med or pre-PA or pre-anything, besides nursing, that's kind of a special thing because you're working straight out of school. Like, you can do whatever you want. If you, like, for me, I look at IU Medical School. I just go to IU Med School's page and it says, here's everything we need you to take. Other than that, like, I can do whatever I want. People major in all sorts of stuff and go to PA school, med school. I know a guy who's finishing up his residency. He's about to be a family doctor, and he majored in philosophy in his time at Taylor. And that helped him in its own way. But like, there's not really limitations on what you can or can't do.
Yeah, going off that, I was an exercise science major, which isn't like people from my major didn't typically go into PA, but it was just like because I took the classes I needed to take and got the stuff done that I needed to, I was able to get into PA school. There was a guy who graduated in my class. He was a music major, and that was it. He didn't have a minor or anything, just the one major, just music. But he got all his prerequisites done for PT school, and he's in PT school now. He didn't have to take a gap year or anything,
That's crazy.
but was just like interested in music and did that. But now he's doing PT. So
yeah, just a matter of prereqs. Okay, next question. Are there commuters, or do you all live on campus? So Audrey, if you want to go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, well, I'm a commuter. I've commuted all 3 years I've been here. And at first I was really scared. Like, I wouldn't be able to plug in and be a part of the Taylor community because kind of like what Caden and Ethan have mentioned earlier, it's like the dorms are so close with each other. But I will say, like, the Lord has blessed me so much. I've been able to plug in to floor, and I've been able to participate in all the different Taylor traditions. So if you are thinking about commuting, it's not that bad. You just have to be more intentional about plugging in.
So I commute about 1 hour each way to school. It's just kind of good for me because one of those things, like, I get a chance to prepare myself on the drive there, listen to podcasts. They have a few things that I can listen or turn my notes into like a podcast, and I can actually listen to my lectures on my drive there. Once I'm in school, it's all about school. But once I'm on my way back, that's another 1 hour chance or an opportunity for me to kind of unwind, recollect my thoughts, or just think about things that I want to work on or focus on when I get home. So the commute seems a little bit long, but it's beneficial for me because it's my moment where I can actually just be in solitary and just kind of relax and rethink about everything that I need to do that day or that week.
Yeah, kind of have that transition period. Okay, so next question is, do you know where clinical practice rotations might be held? So maybe that's more for Ethan and Ricardo, kind of in that grad school, or if anyone has friends in nursing, knows where they're doing clinicals, things like that.
So we haven't started our clinicals yet, but from what we understand, it's about an hour radius. It's more like the central east part of the state. So we can see or be in Fort Wayne, as far north as Fort Wayne, and as far south as Greenwood, just south of Indianapolis. And then I think it's close to the Ohio border, but more of the central location. But if Ethan, if you know of anything that I don't know, but it's in that like 1 hour radius.
yeah, so I think it's a 90-mile radius is what they say, which like is a huge radius, but that's as far as like where they'll place you. For the PA program specifically, you can either just kind of like be hands off with your like setting where you're doing your clinical rotations, and you'll be placed in each of your rotations by the program. And then that's like what the 90-mile radius pertains to. So like I didn't set up any of my own rotations, so I know that I'll be anywhere between here and 90 miles from here. But there are other people who, like we've got a girl in the program who she's from Colorado. She did her undergrad in Utah, but because like all her healthcare connections are out there, she had a bunch of people that she could reach out to and set up her own rotations. So she's doing all 9 of her rotations in Salt Lake City. So she won't be anywhere close to that 90-mile radius. So for the most part, it's like pretty local, but you can really set it up to do it wherever you want. I know I don't know if anybody's doing it, but they threw out the idea of like international rotations as well, what that may look like. So.
Yeah, I have a friend who, one of my housemates who lives in my townhouse with me, is nursing, and she's currently at Parkview Hospital, which is in Fort Wayne. And she was also in Huntington earlier this semester, which is like 30, 40 minutes away. So that's a little bit on the nursing side of things. So next question, I want to go into the healthcare field, but I'm not sure what career I want to pursue. How does Taylor help explore opportunities and get experiences? So if anyone wants to talk about like the different extracurriculars, cardio, fit into health, invitation clinic, things like that.
Well, I'll say you can go to Ecuador. That's a really good way. It's a pretty involved one, but if you're willing to make the trek that far, I did get to see those surgeries, and the bonus thing was our professor, Dr. Pedro, who taught anatomy and physiology, is a family doctor. So I saw surgery. I don't think I want to be a surgeon, just because it doesn't have a lot of the like communicative aspect that other things like family medicine would have. But like having Dr. Pedro for anatomy, he was able to refer to things that he had learned, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. And so that I would say that is a really good program, and it's, if you want to go on it, it's very doable.
I did a lot of different things to figure out. I actually, one of the 2 ones that I was most like involved in were I did the invitation clinic at Taylor, which is where you kind of take a class and you start doing like one-on-one counseling and like working out with like some older adults who have different health goals. Like some of them want to like be more mobile, some of them want to lose weight, some of them want to make like diet changes, and you kind of learn how to like talk to them, and it's fun because you can kind of be in that like decision making role, like the patient provider relationship. You start to learn that. A lot of my friends did like CNA. Taylor has you can become a nursing assistant, a CNA, that if you want to like decide if you want to go the nursing route, that's like a really good option. I went to EMT school and I got to work for a couple of years as a 911 EMT out here. That was cool because you know you can go EMS, you can figure out if you like the decision making or if you like emergency medicine. Logan, I'm not sure. I've heard some PT people that have like worked with Dr. Fenstermacher to like do different shadowing things and stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of opportunities around. And I don't know, do you want to talk about like PT maybe specifically? I don't know.
Yeah. So one of the programs that I'm currently a part of is called Fit into Health. And so it's similar to the invitation clinic, but it's more of like personal training aspects. I'm a personal trainer to 2 older adults in the community. I have 2 old ladies. They're super cute. I just worked with one earlier today, actually. So yeah, they look so you get to learn programming workouts with them, going through like intake forms of like, what are your goals, or going through like a health history questionnaire, doing like baseline exercise testing, like blood pressure, weight, height, like all the things. And it's been fun. Like I've had one of my clients for, this is my 3rd year, and then one of them I'll have for over 2. So you get to know them. They become good friends, get to know you. So yeah, that's kind of the more like personal training aspects of things. Yeah, so you get a lot of work on like workout programming. Yeah. So has anyone done cardiac rehab?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I still do. Don't have time during the semester, but during the summer, I volunteer there. Yeah, I was super thankful for the cardiac rehab program because first semester freshman year, I was able to, I don't know, start doing medical things like taking blood pressure and recording their pulse and oxygen saturation and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's a great program. So thankful for it. So
I also had a couple pre-meds who like started off pre-med and then decided they want to do like PhD because Taylor has a lot of like research opportunities. And like, you know, like genetics, plant, environmental stuff, molecular biology, like you can literally, you know, you can kind of do whatever. And that was something cool too. Like they thought they wanted to do healthcare, then they got into research at Taylor and they were like, oh, I like this. So there's a lot of ways you can figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, there also is opportunities for research with the kinesiology department as well. So like right now I'm actually a participant in a study where I'm like, I need to actually remember what they're actually studying, but it's like the difference in like cortisol and some levels in drool, like after working out, different intensities, things like that. That's pretty awesome as well. So next question, let's see. There's one brief question about, is it possible to study nursing at Taylor if you don't have your own vehicle? Are there enough students traveling to the same places for clinicals to carpool? And so I can just speak briefly for my housemate's experience. So there's she does carpool with other girls who are at her other clinical sites. And one of the girls has, I think is from Fort Wayne or has connections in Fort Wayne. So the night before, they've actually gone up before and spent the night there the night before their clinicals because obviously you have to get there really early. So you're definitely not alone in that. Next question is, how does the athletic department collaborate with the academic department to ensure you take all the required classes, have time to study, and go to workout and meets? So maybe Morgan, you can touch on that a little bit more.
Yeah. Like I said before, the profs are super really like they're willing to work with you to make things up. Personally on the soccer team, we never had like specific like designated times where we like had to like do homework or like a study hall. But I will say like my advisors were always super helpful, like helping me make sure I was taking all my classes on and like doing it in the right order and like making sure I was gonna graduate and like take these when I should. I never had a problem my whole 4 years playing soccer where I was like I couldn't like make things up or where I felt like I was super overwhelmed, like I couldn't keep up with games and things. Like in season, it just like it wasn't ever like a problem. I mean, they make it super easy. The teachers, like they get it. They honestly they're so supportive. You'll like come into class the next day and they'll like talk about like, oh, like nice game. Like I saw you guys. Like they don't, you know, it's definitely like it's easy at Taylor for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're kind of wrapping up in the last 10 minutes. So see how many of these questions that we can get through. So we'll kind of have one person answer each, a little more rapid fire. So if we decide to switch focus but stay in the medical field, would that be possible? So in parentheses, I'm most likely to do pre-vet, but if I decide it's not for me and I want to do pre-med.
So what I find easy is if you have like a spreadsheet. When I was going to multiple schools, I had an Excel sheet. Find out what all your prereqs for each one. So if you do change your mind, you're at least able to see which schools are still aligned with those current courses that you're taking, so you're not wasting any time or trying to backtrack. So building an Excel sheet, writing all your prereqs, finding the one that had the most common prereq, whether it's English or anatomy and physiology, knock those things out. So if you are being indecisive, you can at least, if you do change, you've already knocked out those prereqs and didn't take an extra course that you didn't need to.
Awesome. So what do Taylor students do for fun, both on and off campus?
I feel like if you're not like part of the Taylor community, a lot of stuff we do for fun seems like super weird, but I promise it's super fun. Like for example, my friends would take 1 week of the year every October and we would chase each other around campus with fruit. And it sounds dumb, but it's the greatest thing in the world. But Taylor's like super tradition based. So I feel like whatever community you find yourself in, whether it's your wing or like a athletic team, there's like traditions and things that always go on to kind of build community and always fun things like that going on. I also kind of always feel like there's some type of event on campus, whether it's a sporting event or some type of thing, but put on by some organization. There's always something to go do on campus, and Taylor is like, it's kind of the perfect size where it's like small enough that whatever event I go to, I'm gonna know somebody there, but it's big enough that like I can also go meet somebody new there. So I feel like there's always stuff going on.
That's a great point. So next question: if any one of you are in/have been in the Honors Guild, how did you manage that with pre-med? I know that the freshmen typically go to Italy, so how does that work with the major? So maybe talk about Honors Guild, J-term briefly, about a minute per question. Let's say.
Is
I
anybody
have a
here?
fellow one who's in the Honors Guild, and he was also on the men's soccer team, and he loved it. He loved his Honors Guild classes, and he didn't have a problem balancing everything, and so I don't know if that helps.
Awesome. Were you limited in the abroad trips like Ecuador you could take if you're in sports?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes. No, yeah, actually, this is better for you, not me.
No, you go ahead. I've talked a lot.
Oh no, you genuinely. I don't play a sport. I had no problem going. Is there any conflicts with athletics, Morgan?
I actually traveled 3 out of the 4 years for J-term, but the semester-long ones, it depends on when your season is. I was in the fall because we were soccer, and I actually did have a friend who was on my team, like a teammate who didn't go to Ecuador. Coach let her go to Ecuador in the spring. But it depends on what sport it is and your coach. But is the answer. But I've gone on several study abroad trips. I don't feel like I missed out, but yeah.
Yeah, Morgan and I actually got to go on a J-term trip, our mini semester in January to Greece and Italy together. So that was awesome. That was our freshman year. That feels so long ago.
Gosh.
Okay, so next question, similar to what we've gotten before, are there clinical rotations? Kind of a brief synopsis of that again.
Go ahead, Ricardo.
Yes, we have like the 1 hour, 90 mile radius. You can set your own clinic sites if you want at a state, or you can just have your actual professors set all your clinical sites for you. So you don't have to stress out about that. Just let them know which 2 electives that you want to do, and then they'll take care of the rest.
Awesome. So maybe we can expound on more of the traditions at Taylor, because our next question is, what do you do for fun if there are no sororities and the closest beach is the dunes?
Go to the dunes.
Build up the silent night.
The dunes.
Yeah,
We did go to the dunes, yeah.
No, there's so many traditions. The past couple days it's been sunny, and so naturally campus just comes to life. I mean, it's always alive, but now that it's warmed up, the pickleball courts are super full. And in my dorm, there's always people out on the front lawn playing spike ball, throwing frisbee. I think the fun thing is, because there's not a lot to do off campus, it makes living on campus so much more fun. And so people really get creative with how to have fun, and not we all sit inside and play board games, but genuinely just a lot of traditions. And I couldn't fully explain it to you until you're here, but probably the most advertised one is Silent Night, where we all celebrate around Christmas with a basketball game. And I can't even tell you through words. You just have to experience it yourself.
Look it up on YouTube. Watch the videos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question. So I have a choice to take AP Calc or AP Stats next year. Which do you feel would be better for me of those fields? I can speak to being an exercise science major. I had some grad schools require stats, but I've not taken Calc, and I was able to get in fine. So anyone else kind of want to briefly add?
Calc could help you with physics if you're pre-med. But if you're not pre-med and you're more something that's less than another many years, PT or PA, maybe stats would be better.
Mm-hmm.
pre-med stats was what was required for me, but I took calc in high school. So I think you just take what you're interested in and just go for it. Yeah.
Alrighty, so this is more directed to Ethan and Ricardo. So regarding the PA program, how many lectures are taught online or asynchronously?
This semester, all of our semesters are fully in person, or all of our lectures are fully in person. Last semester, we did have we had one class that was like flipped format, so we watched all of our lectures on our own time. They were all recorded. But as far as like jumping on a Zoom and like having to be like on your laptop from this time to this time for a class, we haven't had to do any of that for the entire program. So everything's in person. We have like our own section of a building. We've got our own classroom, our own nice little space. So we use it very often in person.
Awesome. Do any of you guys know any pre-veterinary people?
Yes.
What's their experience been like?
I know one guy. He's pre-vet, and I think he's getting along just fine. We actually have pretty similar classes. I think Ricardo kind of alluded to it earlier about like having prerequisites aligned. So, yeah, it's just you just kind of figure out. And again, that's where having things like our medical advisor here at Taylor or other faculty being able to help, like just right on the front end, be like, this is what you're going to take, this is what you need to do. But also like your fall freshman year doesn't really change no matter what your major is. So it's not something that you have to worry about a ton as a high school senior.
Yeah. Okay, so last question to kind of wrap up the night is, would you choose Taylor again, and has it prepared you in the way that you thought it would?
Yes. 100%. Yep.
Emphatic yes.
Yes.
Let's everyone kind of expound on our emphatic yeses.
So I've worked in the real world for about 10 years. So yes, I would go back to Taylor because it's one of those things that I really wanted to focus on was bringing in that Christian aspect of my life. I felt it would better serve me and it would also better serve my patients. So that was one thing that I was excited about and I always look forward to. And I felt like being part of Taylor is something that's going to change my life, and it has so far. Ethan, we go to the chapel, which is something that you'll learn about. Was it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 to 11? And I felt like that was a big part of my transitioning and being a better healthcare person.
That's awesome. Let's kind of spam the last couple questions that we have. So do you feel like you were able to get a job that helped you satisfy the patient care hours needed for PA school while at Taylor?
They don't recommend us working, but there's a lot of us that do. I work part-time or at PRN at a ortho office on the weekends when I can. But they don't want you to work full-time because it is kind of challenging. So they want you to focus more on school. But, understanding that financial is something that we need to do. So we do need to work, but it's really up to you.
Yeah, Ethan, how about you kind of like getting the hours needed for applying? How were you able to kind of get those hours in while at school?
Yeah, I got most of them in through, I was a scribe in the ER in Muncie for a little bit in undergrad, which is actually kind of like what pushed me more towards PA, like being in like a hospital setting versus like at that point I was still kind of on a PT track. So I did that for one thing. There's also I know somebody, I think it was Morgan mentioned it a little bit earlier. One of the kinesiology professors, Dr. Fenstermacher, he is a DPT. And so he teaches a PT class where students go to like an actual physical therapy clinic with him and kind of like help him and also like watch him like do actual patient encounters, like actually have these like real PT sessions with patients. And then the PA program at Taylor actually counted those for clinical hours as well. So obviously you're in school full time, so you kind of have to like fit it in where you can. And at times it was added a lot of stress to my schedule, but there's definitely like space for it.
That's awesome. And then Morgan, if you could briefly talk about your friend Katie and just her experience being pre-optometry, kind of what that's looked like. Maybe a little 30-second spiel, and then we can call it a night.
She was a biology major just like me. We took all the same classes. I think there were like one or two she had to take special for optometry school, but and they have to take like I don't even know it's a GRE or no, it's not the GRE. It's like a special optometry exam, but she didn't have a hard time. Just being a biology major, she covered all her classes and she was able to apply. So, yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, well, we'd like to take a moment to thank everyone for coming and all the questions. Having a lot to choose from made our job easy to kind of talk about our experience so far. And yeah, we'd love for you to come to Taylor and feel like, if nothing else, this helps you kind of learn more of what you're looking for. So thanks, guys.